Hello, everyone. This is Zeb, the director of the Content Studio here at HousingWire. And joining me today for a special sponsored conversation is Ryan Young, CEO and co-founder of Fello. Ryan, welcome to Powerhouse.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. So there's a ton of questions that I have for you, but I wanted to ask you, we spoke yesterday for a little bit, and you brought up something that's very near and dear to my heart. If anyone that's watching this can see from behind me, you're a fellow guitar player. I didn't get to, we talked a little bit about this, and I didn't get a follow-up question. We both play acoustic guitars, both play Martins. What style of music do you play?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just infatuated with, all those guitars you have over your shoulder. I play a lot of just folk finger picking, kind of classic, just your classic rock and roll, folk acoustic style, great singer songwriter type stuff. My dad, I'm kind of self-taught. I just used to watch my dad play, and then I just kind of emulated what he did, but just listen to a lot of the music my dad used to love: James Taylor, Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, Nash, a lot of those guys.
Sure.
And it's just one of those things that I just used to watch him play almost every night, and just I became kind of obsessed with it. And I'm like, I'm going to learn how to do that. And 30 years later, it's something. It's like my meditation. It's my way to, at the end of the day, to turn things off. So it's definitely a great pastime.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's something that I've carried with me for 20 years or so, and its importance in my life has morphed, and it's kind of serves the same purpose for me now.
Well, real quick, and then we'll jump into it. But something that's so special is, so my family is, I would say, more musical. My dad plays, my brother plays. He also has a mandolin. My dad used to play banjo as well. Just something special about it is, my dad's in his late 70s, and 3-4 months ago, I told him, me and my brother, let's take a little road trip, a little boys trip. Let's go fly fishing. We'll bring our guitars with us. We just kind of rented a cabin in upstate New York. And it was just so special to just hang out for 3 nights, a long weekend, and, fish during the days, play music. And you could see he gets emotional because we're playing the songs that he grew up listening to. And it's like, his kids, we're both in our early 40s, are sitting there playing the songs that he grew up, and you can just tell it's just something special. It's an amazing bond.
That's great. That's really cool. I'm envious. I was the only one in my family that played any music at all. I took fishing trips with my dad, and we would drive for like 3 days straight, not listening to anything at all. Just straight silence.
We do the whole, we'll do the whole, put on music, and it'd be like, who sings this? Who originally wrote it? Who, it's like a lot of banter back and forth.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Well, let me ask you how, kind of sticking to your backstory though. You have one of the more unique, paths or journeys into the real estate industry that I know of. I mean, is it fair to say that your path into real estate started kind of in the kitchen? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it's a fair statement. So, I grew up in both my parents were real estate agents. They were kind of a small team, the two of them. I grew up cooking. I was obsessed all high school. I was full-time, chef at this great restaurant in Cleveland where I grew up. And I actually was, a really good high school football player and had the opportunity to play, kind of collegiate ball. And I turned it down to go to culinary school. I went to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. And, I was just obsessed with the industry. I wanted to be a restaurateur, moved all over the country, Chicago, New York, Las Vegas, cooked in some of the most amazing restaurants in the world. And when I hit 26, I kind of had a quarter life, I would say, crisis, a little quarter life breakdown. At this point, I've been in the restaurant industry for about 10 years now. And I wanted to enjoy my weekends, and I wanted to start a family and see my friends that I grew up with and see my family more. And, in the restaurant industry, you're working every night, every holiday, every weekend. And you just lose a little bit of that, that kind of Midwest cultural, beliefs and foundation that I'm kind of used to. So I called my folks up at, I was 20, just about to turn 26. And I said, you're going to think I'm crazy. This came out of nowhere, but what do you think about me moving back to Cleveland and getting my real estate license and joining you guys? And I think they were kind of like, what are you talking about? You spent all this money on culinary school. You've cooked at all these amazing restaurants. You've had this vision. And I'm just like, sometimes visions change and I'm ready to explore something new. And 26 years old, 2009, I moved back to Cleveland, Ohio and jumped into the real estate industry.
Okay. So how did you get, or can you kind of walk me through your experience in your real estate segment and going from from the real estate to the technology side?
Yeah.
How did that take place?
Yeah. So, when I joined my folks in 2009, which was not a great time to get into the real estate industry, as you can imagine. I'm 26 years old. I'm getting into the real estate industry. I think I've got it all figured out. That was a rough couple of years as I learned, as I was grinding through it. But when I joined my parents, I said, the one thing that's really important to me is if I join you, we are going to build something special, right? And I am very committed to building something. I don't want to just like sell real estate kind of part-time as a hobby. And so we started building, and driving really hard and building this big team. And we very quickly became, one of the top teams in the state of Ohio, eventually becoming, the number one large team in the state. And I ultimately was obsessed with this growth, and I was surrounding myself with other people that were doing bigger things, and whether it was a bigger team or they were building additional businesses. And so one of the things I started doing within my real estate team was I started doing this like cash offer guaranteed sale program, which really started to kind of put us on the map in Northeast Ohio with these very loud campaigns on radio and some billboards and stuff like that. And what I found was that a lot of people started reaching out to us and saying, hey, I'm curious about this cash offer. We saw so much demand that I said, this is like a business in itself. And so it's like, this is almost a business as big as the young team. So I started a company called Flash House, which was purely built to acquire homes, right? We buy your homes for cash, et cetera. This is about 2019. And all of a sudden, so I had the young team, which was selling about 400 or 500 homes a year. I had Flash House where we were acquiring, 10 to 20 homes a month. They were playing off each other synergistically really nicely because people would request a cash offer. If they didn't like the offer, I could send them over to the young team. If the young team had a client that wanted a cash offer, I could send them over to Flash House. But what I found was what was really interesting was as I was building both these companies, I started to see people in my database, in the young team's database, requesting cash offers from Flash House. Now, they had no idea that I owned both companies. They had no idea that I owned Flash House. And so I started to realize that, wait a minute, if people in the young team, these are like past clients of ours, right? They're getting this marketing from Flash House. They're going to flashhouse.com. They're requesting a cash offer. Why aren't they loyal to me? What other where else are they going? If they're going into Flash House, where else are they going? And it started to make me realize that like, I need to really protect my database and I really need to invest into my database. And so that's kind of where this idea of the technology came about was, what can we build that really builds this moat around the young team's database that really drives a lot of engagement within our database. This is kind of where Fello was born, like birthed from, was this idea of like, protect your database. Your database is your largest asset. And so really in 2021, after kind of like really thinking this through and identifying how this could actually be something also, as a business opportunity, we decided let's, put some money behind this. Let's build some technology to actually kind of like expedite and productize all these things that we were doing. And before you know it, Fello was born in 2022.
And so what can you kind of give a 10,000 foot view of what Fello is exactly for our audience?
Yeah. Fello is really a marketing automation platform. We're kind of an attachment to your CRM. And what we focus on primarily is database engagement. And so what is really special about Fello is we sync your database into our platform. and we enrich it with a significant amount of data. And Fello is really obsessed with helping agents generate more listings, finding more sellers within their database. And so we take your database from your CRM, we sync it into our platform, we start finding all the homeowners that you didn't even know were homeowners in your database, and we start enriching it with all this really rich data, like public record data and MLS data and mortgage data. So now you have this really, really rich, call it a supplemental database, right? This marketing foundation to actually start creating a significant amount of engagement. And what Fello then does is we start all these email and direct mail campaigns that are really designed to get the homeowners in your database to raise their hands. And what we found is that 5% of an agent's database lists their home every 12 months. And we have all this data that supports it. And, when you think about, well, my database is 10,000 people. Well, there's no way there's 500 listings in my database every year. There's no way if I have a database of 1,000 people that there's 50 listings. I'm only getting a listing or two out of my database. Fello really starts to uncover those sellers and then create a massive amount of engagement with them, which ultimately helps you then have a conversation and convert them into listings.
Okay, so what differentiates Fello from the rest of the competition?
Yeah, so I think first thing is the introduction of the data, right? This is so important, is the fact that we take the database and we enrich it with all this information that was never there. We kind of say, like, we really turn the lights on in your database. So that's the first component, is like database enrichment, data enrichment. And then what makes Fello so special is, because we have all this data, then all of a sudden it becomes so granular and customizable based off of the data that allows us to see significantly better engagement and significantly better results. And, when you have a marketing platform, a marketing automation platform, I think what our industry is so used to is just kind of like a one size fits all message to their entire database. And imagine when you can get really, really granular, and when you find out all this rich information about all these people in your database, and you can really start segmenting these messages so that you're getting the right message to the right person at the right time. And it's so hard to explain until you actually see what the platform looks like and you literally plug your database in. And like the first reaction we get from our users, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's kind of gone viral, is people just are blown away by the information of what is provided to them in their database that they had no idea even existed.
Personally, what do you do or did you do to go from one thing that doesn't naturally tie into the next thing to then get good at it or succeed?
I say my biggest strength is knowing and accepting my weaknesses. And I feel I grew up playing team sports. I grew up in a kitchen, which is kind of a team thing. It wouldn't be possible without surrounding myself with other people. I haven't done any of these ventures by myself, right? And so what I've done is I am very curious. I'm just naturally a very curious person. And so when I have an idea, or when I see an opportunity or a vision or whatever it may be, I'm normally surrounding myself with someone that might be more of call it a domain expert. And I partner with them, and then I become obsessed with their expertise, and then we start building together. I haven't done any of these things alone. And I think that's extremely important. I love building things with other people, with people that share my passion and energy and work ethic. And that's I would say that's probably the only consistency of all these things that I've done in my entire life, is the fact that I've always done them with others.
Right. Right. And so now that you're in the technology space, how has that, or has it at all, has it changed your perspective on the real estate side of things?
Yeah.
And if it has, like, how so?
Yeah. So Fello launched about 2 years ago, October of 22, and it immediately blew up. Like 20,000 users on the platform, over 2,300 teams, over 60% of those teams are on the Real Trends Top 1,000. So we've been really fortunate to see like massive growth, right? And what it shows me is that if you can build great technology for an industry like the real estate industry that is very user friendly, that is very automated, that is very well integrated within their current tech stack, whatever they're currently doing, you're going to see traction. You're going to see adoption. As soon as you build something really complex, that ultimately feels complex to the user, they shut down. Remember, I'm an agent. I've sold thousands of homes. I've been a team leader, built a team that sold thousands of homes. I'm in my car. I'm on the road. I'm on listing appointments. I'm on buyer showings. I'm negotiating deals. I need something that's working in the background for me, that's creating opportunities for me that I don't need to think about, that I don't need to constantly be tweaking and manipulating and observing and iterating. To build great technology in the real estate industry, what I've learned is it's so important that it's like, you kind of have to set it and forget it. You kind of have to gamify and show them that they're winning with it and create some excitement around what we're doing. But as soon as you start adding in all this friction, right? And it just all of a sudden you see it doesn't work. And I think that's so important for just our industry, is like, when you're looking at technology, what are you comfortable with as you're analyzing whether it's right for you or not, is like, how does this fold into your day to day, and how, laborious is it for you to set it up or to continue to manage it? And I think one of the things that we've really leaned into is, how do you just make this really automated and effortless for our users so that they can get a significant amount of benefit without putting in a lot of work?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it too is the fact that it's designed, in my opinion, designed by somebody that's done it before. I mean, I've got a background on the mortgage side, and I've had quite a few of these conversations, and I can always tell on speaking to people, that have transitioned into services or the tech side, that they've actually done the job, that they're building the thing to solve the problem. They actually know the problem because they've lived through the problem, so they know how to build the solution far better than someone that's building it because they see it as a widget,
100%.
And they understand the problem better, and then they have an emotional attachment to solving that problem in a way that somebody that sees it purely as an abstract problem will never understand.
100%.
So there's a world of difference there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So you have something I was going to ask you about as well. You have a really big initiative that's going on right now as well, right? Or about to begin? Yeah.
For the listeners that aren't watching, they're just listening. You can't see the smile on my face as soon as Zeb said that. So something I'm really passionate about, Fello was built originally to be this listing engine, this 24/7 listing engine to find all these homeowners in your database. And I've always been really passionate on the real estate side of things, on the real estate, the listing side of the business. And last year, a little context around this, around March, I actually went out on social media and posted on Instagram and said, my name's Ryan Young, and I'm going to set 30 listing appointments in the next 30 days out of my database. And I was kind of just doing this to show the Fello community and really my real estate team, the Young team, that there's so many opportunities sitting in our database. We have the data that shows it. We've seen it across, tens of millions of contacts from Fello users. And so I said, I'm going to set 30 listing appointments in 30 days. My team didn't know I was going to do this. I just kind of was like, I'm sick of hearing so many people in our industry say, like, the leads suck, my database sucks. Like, there's so much good stuff in there. And so I went out for 30 days and I literally posted all these live calls on my Instagram account. And I was successful in setting 30 listing appointments in 30 days. And it went totally viral. Everyone was cheering me on, like the first day, I think I set like 4 listing appointments and I thought I was going to like cruise through it. And the second day I literally got completely shut out. And the third day I thought I was going to crush it. And it was like an awful day. Everyone was hanging up on me. And so all of a sudden, all the support in the community, I started getting a lot of people saying like, hey, if you ever do that again, I'll do it with you, right? Like, I want to do it. I want my team to do it with you. We want to do the 30-day listing challenge. So last year we kind of did like a small mini pilot. We had about 500 participants. We did this 30-day listing challenge, which was so much fun. And, after it was done, we had all these users that were joining Fello saying, if you guys ever do the 30-day listing challenge again, we want in. And so everyone is constantly said, like, when are you guys doing this again? And so we said, you know what, we're going to do it, and we are going to go absolutely massive. So starting March 3rd, the 30-day listing challenge will start. We are super excited that we are going to be giving away $100,000 in prizes, daily winners, weekly winners. There's going to be brackets based on team size, individual agent, et cetera. You don't have to be a Fello user just to participate. It's for Fello users and non-Fello users. It's for the entire industry. And what's even amazing is I've been pretty fortunate with the success of the young team and some of the success of Fello to naturally kind of gravitate towards circles of other leaders. And so I've reached out to other leaders within our industry to say, hey, we're doing a 30-day listing challenge. I'd love to do like a daily webinar with different leaders that are talking about mindset and growth and listings and tactics, et cetera. And so we've gotten commitments from Gary Keller, Tom Ferry, Ben Kinney, Sharon Sarvasa, Leo Pareja, John Cheplak, Sarah Reynolds, like Phil Jones, Jimmy Mackin, like the biggest of the biggest names in all the entire real estate industry are kind of standing behind us and supporting us in this initiative of like the month of March is the 30-day listing challenge. And like, they're all participating and they're going to be collaborating with us. So it is going to be massive. We literally launched it 7 days ago, announced it 7 days ago. There's already 5,000 participants. And today we just announced all the speakers. So it's amazing to see how that goes up. So it is going to be the month of March within the real estate industry. You're going to see a lot of people on social media hashtagging Fello 30 LDC 30-day challenge. And it's going to be just, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be, we're going to cheer each other on as an entire industry. And you're going to see a lot of listings being taken.
So you created your own movement.
It's a movement. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it's like, the reason why I get so excited about it is because I have, in 2009, I got my license and I built our business, the young team, on hitting the phones. Like I was a 26-year-old kid, and the only people that would do business with me in 2009, 10, 11, and 12 were really expireds that were unsuccessful selling with like the bigger agent, the agent that's been licensed for 20 years, the biggest agent in our city. And my pitch to them was like, look, you already tried the best agent. Try the kid that's going to work harder than anyone else, right? Because people would say, like, you're a kid, you're 26, you're 27. Why should I list with you? Well, you're already unsuccessful listing with, some of these other people. And so to me, the listing challenge is like so aligned with how I built the young team of like getting on the phones, challenging myself. And the reason why I light up every time I talk about it is because I'm the CEO of a technology company. We have over 100 team members. I'm very fortunate that my brother now runs the young team. And it's like every once in a while, because I've been out of production for the last 4 years, the opportunity for me to like jump back on the phones with my team and to like get back into that like 2010, 11, 12 kind of mindset and like sprint for 30 days. There's something about it to me that just like, it just takes me back to like where it all started. And I'm just really excited about it.
That's cool. Well, okay. So I know that that's starting in March, gearing up for the spring, which is, it's wild that it's already the middle of February.
That's crazy.
To be honest with you. So it feels like an apt time to ask this question. What do you see for just the housing industry in general? Like, what trends do you see for the coming year?
Yeah. Here, before I even talk about trends for the housing industry, I think one of the things that is really important is I want to preface, because this is something I always start with when I speak on stages is, I always talk about, do you rent or do you own your business? And what I mean by that is I hear way too many people in our industry relying on whatever the trends I say are as optimism or as pessimism. Whoever wins the election, whatever happens with interest rates, whatever happens with whatever type of government ordinance, whatever it may be. And one of the things I think is extremely important within our industry is we accept the fact that you control what you can control. And in order to make and this is why we're doing this 30-day listing challenge is, own the outcome, right? Control the controllables, make your business predictable. And I say that because I just think there's so many people within our industry that like when all of a sudden the Fed meets and like they announce a rate cut, everyone like celebrates like, oh, I can breathe. Maybe business will start to normalize a little bit. And it's like your business should have never fallen off based on what someone else dictates based on interest rates.
Right.
And I understand that obviously like there are macro factors that are going to impact the quantity of homes sold or the prices of homes, et cetera. But ultimately, there is enough homes for each and every one of us to have our biggest years ever. And if we're relying so much on predictions or projections or whatever it may be to ultimately define the outcome or the success that we have in that year, I would take a look in the mirror and reposition how you approach your business and focus more on what you can control. So that being said, from some of the things that I'm just observing and what's interesting is running and owning a real estate team in the Midwest versus having, call it a business to business, a B2B platform where we have, thousands and thousands of agents all over the country. I am bullish on 2025 market. I do think that we're going to see this kind of unique market where we're going to see continued inflation in home prices while you're also going to see these rates coming down. I'd say low sixes. Can we break below 6? I don't know. I think that's maybe ambitious. But I think 2025 is going to be an exciting year. I mean, we're already starting to see it. I'm seeing a lot of optimism from a lot of the teams we're working with, just how Q1 is starting to shape up. And I'm seeing a lot of tailwinds moving into kind of spring market in Q2. So, there's no doubt that Q4 and there were some speed bumps throughout 2024, just all over the country. I think 2025, you're going to see a little bit just more stability and just maybe it normalize a little bit more.
Okay. Well, and what about, and this is something that, comes up in nearly every conversation that I have. It's like, is AI data, AI data, AI data. So from a tech and real estate perspective, what's your perspective on the proper use or how people should be utilizing AI or the capabilities of AI if harnessed properly?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great question and it's something I'm obsessed with right now. So I'm only going to just leak this out to the listeners, but Fello.ai is actually going to be launching in Q2. So keep it on the hush if you're listening. We are leaning very, very deeply into intelligence. One of the things that's really important for our company was we kind of have had these evolutions in the past 2 years we're still in our infancy, but it's amazing these kind of stages, the metamorphosis of our company and where we started to where we are now. And one of the things that was like our second phase, the second iteration was introducing all of this data, right? Like I told you, we enrich all the addresses. We find all the homeowners in your database where we get very granular in our messaging to them based on these data points. Well, kind of the third evolution of our company is really focused on data-driven intelligence. And so now we've been able to observe, we're sending 40 plus million emails out every month, and we get to observe, what data points are consistent where people are opening them and transacting with them and clicking on them. And what are we seeing? What are the consistencies of data points of people that are actually listing their homes? And because we have so much data, we're starting to leverage a lot of intelligence to actually power a lot of the decisions that we're pushing out and how we're marketing to these databases. And so for us, like we are leaning really heavy into intelligence. Everything is, empowering businesses with data-driven intelligence. What I'm observing I would say more macro from an intelligence standpoint is, everyone is leaning into really this agentic AI era. And then eventually it's going to move into robotics, right? And what's so interesting to me is, and what I've observed of being, in the real estate industry myself is, and this is kind of piggybacks off of what I was saying when you asked me about building technology, what did I learn? AI and all this rich intelligence is so powerful if you know how to use it, right? If you can really capture the essence of what what is possible with the intelligence. And one of the things that I'm a little concerned about is, and this is, we're being very strategic in how we're building intelligence into our platform, is not to overwhelm the user with all these things that are so foreign to them that maybe an engineer would understand, or maybe someone that's very, technically savvy would understand. But making sure that, like, I would say the transition, the evolution of artificial intelligence and just intelligence in general, making sure that it's really weaved in this very seamless way that, like, the user it makes the user, the real estate agent's business easier. It makes it more effortless versus having to try to teach them more things. I think if we overcorrect on artificial intelligence, all of a sudden you're going to see this shutdown and a resistance against it because it's going to be intimidating. Mm-hmm. And so how do you actually weave it in? And that's what we're very focused on with this launch of Fello.ai. How do we weave it in where all of a sudden you're like, wow, it's just performing better. Wow, it's just so much easier. Wow, I'm getting so much more information without having to do more.
Right. That makes sense. Well, since you're kind of spilling the beans a little bit or sharing things, I know that there might be a little bit of this information out there, but I think you are a little bit, or you're planning to expand into the mortgage sector. Can you share a little bit of that? Share what that
Once
looks
again,
like.
let's keep this on the hush.
Keep it on the down low.
Listening, keep it on the down low.
Now to the thousands of people that are listening, tens of thousands of people that are listening.
That are listening. Now we're quietly we're quietly loud about it. So here's what's interesting is, I told you that we work with so many of the top real estate organizations, brokerages, strategic partners, et cetera. And a lot of them have their own mortgage companies, or they have joint ventures with mortgage companies, or some sort of relationship with a mortgage company, lenders, et cetera. And what's interesting is a lot of them have come to us and they're like, Ryan, I love what Fello has done for my database on the real estate side of things. Like, it's producing so many listings. It's creating so much information and data that I didn't even know was in there, and all this seller engagement. But we have this mortgage company as well. And now we feel like our mortgage company is getting left out, And so they've kind of come to me and said, can you build us like kind of Fello for mortgage, like what you do for real estate, but bring it to our mortgage database? And so, I started doing some due diligence just around like what other type of products there are out there. And there's some great products in the mortgage industry, but I kind of feel that, once again, this data enriched, this data driven intelligence kind of marketing automation really is not out there. And so we're really excited. In Q2, it's going to be much louder. We're actually you'll start seeing a lot of marketing around it, and we're actually going to go to market. But right now we're actually already starting to bring on a lot of lender clients, which is really exciting because it's just kind of happening word of mouth. And we're already starting to see a lot of traction around it. And I would say what's so interesting is the mortgage industry, just like the real estate industry, they're so similar, and they both have similar pain points, and they both have similar objectives. And so what we're really excited about is not only helping them on the database engagement standpoint, but we're starting to see some really interesting synergies between our fellow real estate agents that are on the platform and our fellow lenders that are on the platform, and how they're starting to collaborate and kind of lean on each other and drive benefits of both being users of Fello. And so there's this really strong network effect that we're actually starting to see at a very early stage on the Fello mortgage side that's actually providing benefits to our fellow real estate clients. And we have, these opportunities from our fellow real estate clients that are providing benefits to our fellow mortgage clients. And so we're really excited to double down on the mortgage industry. We see how it benefits both the mortgage industry and the real estate industry synergistically. And it's game on. We're coming Q2 really loud on it.
Excellent. So, okay. All right. So if, let's say, hypothetically and hopefully, life is an avenue of green lights for the next, 5-10 years for Fello. Where do you see yourself in Fello, 5-10 years down the road? Green lights, nothing but green lights.
Yeah. So this might like kind of I don't want to get like too futuristic of people like, whoa, that guy's weird. But, one of the things, one of my co-founders, Steven, a couple years ago, he kept saying, the real estate industry is really just a bunch of small business owners. And he kept using this analogy of a company, Shopify, that Shopify really like empowers just all these small business owners, right? And we kind of look at the real estate industry as the same way, as like whether you're an individual agent, like my parents were just a small business owner. They owned the young team. It was just the two of them. Or now the young team is a team of 30 plus, and we work with teams of 1,000 plus, small brokerages, et cetera. Well, Shopify really empowers these small businesses with really the technology and the resources that were once only reserved for the biggest companies, the Amazons, the Walmarts, et cetera, right? And so they kind of really like decentralized all these large conglomerates. And so one of the things that we're really excited about is building this technology that empowers these small business owners, these business owners in general, that really helps kind of decentralize some of the conglomerates in whatever category they're in, right? And so I really could see Fello, while we're going really deep in real estate and mortgage, in 5 to 10 years, thinking ambitiously. We hear, I have friends that are in the auto industry that have the same problem. They have these databases, they buy a ton of leads, but once they buy the lead, they put it in their database, nothing else happens. And then they buy more leads, and they have very thin margins because of it. And I have friends in the restaurant industry that are spending money on OpenTable to buy leads. And I have friends in the insurance industry and all these different verticals, but really at the end of the day, they're all just small business owners. And so really in 5 to 10 years, I could see Fello just being this really, really powerful kind of marketing automation platform in multiple industries that's ultimately empowering these small business owners to ultimately have a fighting chance against the conglomerates, the juggernauts of whatever industry that they're in, and give them a fighting chance to maintain profitability and to be able to continue to scale, and empower them with all these resources.
That's an excellent answer.
People might be like, what is this dude talking about? He's a real estate guy that's like a, chef real estate guy, and now he wants to go into the auto industry and the restaurant industry. But like, it's amazing how much we've seen, how much this has made a positive impact in the real estate industry so quickly. Once again, 2 years ago, like, we launched this thing and it's massive, and we're excited to do it industry by industry moving forward.
Well, whenever you said you didn't want to get too weird, I was hoping that you would. I like weird answers. That's good.
We're not yet to like building spaceships and stuff, but who knows? You've kind of said like, my career path has been all over the place, so you just never know.
Yeah. Well, man, I could talk to you for another hour, to be honest with you, but I know you got to go and we got our limit. But Ryan, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to another conversation.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and excited for the next one.